I typically don't make videos in response to online discourse for a few reasons, but the main one being that I think a lot of the online discourse about video games is either overly negative or a straight up grift. However, the discourse around Mixtape has become so aggressive and weird that I just want to talk a bit about the discourse itself and also a bit about how reviews affect the way people play video games. This isn't a review for Mixtape, obviously, so if you want to know more about the game, feel free to find it somewhere else, but just for surface level knowledge for those unaware, Mixtape is a game about three friends spending their last day together before graduating high school. Stacy, joined by Slater and Cassandra, has created a mixtape of songs spanning from the 60s to the 90s to play them through their last day. She has it planned down to the moment. What ensues is your typical teenager searching for booze story, a glorification of teenage life, but to me, that is kind of the point. First, I want to go over some of the complaints for the game that I actually understand. I see a lot of people saying that the writing is corny. I agree that the writing has some corny moments, and I can understand why it could grate on someone, but for me, those moments of angst and corny teenage banter add to the campiness of the game. But again, I can see why it could be nails on a chalkboard for some people. And second, people have a big issue with the gameplay or lack thereof. There are prolonged moments where there isn't much substantial gameplay. It's a game that puts narrative first in a major way, and some people don't vibe with that, which is totally understandable. My response to that, though, is then why talk about the game if it's so clearly not made for you? If you are someone that needs to be constantly in control of your character and aren't the kind of person that's just willing to go along for the ride, what is the point of spending hours online shitting on it if it is clearly not made with you in mind? The reviews for Mixtape have been a major talking point because they've been basically universally positive as far as reviews from actual publications go. IGN gave it a 10, Tim and Greg from Kinda Funny gave it a 10, while Blessing gave it a 9, Game Informer and GameSpot both gave it 9s as well, and it has a 93 on OpenCritic. People have not taken to this array of positive reviews very kindly, the main talking point being, oh, this is just a bunch of 30 and 40-year-olds giving it high scores because it reminds them of their childhood. It's not actually that good. How can a game with minimal gameplay and writing that I personally find grating be so loved? If you are someone who simply does not connect with Mixtape, that is fine. I have seen many people say, I didn't grow up as a white kid in the suburbs in the 90s listening to this music. This just didn't resonate with me. Which again, yeah, that makes total sense. But if you are somehow surprised that people that did grow up that way connected with Mixtape and thus gave it a high score and you dismiss it as old people being nostalgic, you are either being purposely obtuse or, congratulations, you just found out what nostalgia does for people. It has become this weird thing where people are for some reason reviewing the actual reviews for the game rather than the game itself. And it's here that I want to transition into a more broad conversation about video game reviews with this question. At what point do reviews start to hinder your experience? I'll allow you to answer that for yourself. Maybe you can put it down in the comments below. But for me, I believe that if you see reviews for a game, whether they're glowing or more negative, and you then go into a game with that Metacritic number in mind and are expecting that game to be that exact thing for you, you are interacting with video games, and more so video game reviews, incorrectly. If you see reviews for a game and those reviews provoke you to play the game, that's fine. But by no means should you sit down and think, alright, it's time for a 93 level experience because that's what OpenCritic told me it was going to be. It's a surefire way to end up hating 80% of the games you play because more likely than not, you will not fully align with a singular number for that given game. Video games, like every piece of art, are wildly subjective. And if you listen to a 35-year-old 90s kid that loves grunge music and punk talk glowingly about Mixtape, and then sit down as someone who has zero connection to that era or music, and then get mad when it doesn't resonate with you, you are a lost cause at that point. A million different things in that process told you that you wouldn't like the game, yet you wasted your time on it anyways. As I said, it's interacting with reviews incorrectly. The whole point of reviews is not to listen to absolutely all of them, read every article, watch every video. The point of reviews is to find 2 to 3 people that you align with on video games, you like similar games or you think about video games in a similar way, and listen to what they have to say. Then you can assume, okay, maybe this is a skip for me, or holy shit, they like this game a lot, maybe I should give it a shot then. It's not a wild concept, but it's one that people seem to completely miss somehow. Online discourse about pretty much anything is in a really shitty spot right now, and I think a lot of it comes back to this. That is a crazy deep rabbit hole that I won't go into now, but when it comes to video games specifically, it feels like a lot of people don't do their due diligence on a game before deciding to spend their time with it. They see an arbitrary number applied to it and think it's going to resonate with them specifically, when that simply is not how the world works. I don't normally engage in this kind of stuff, but this time around, it just perplexed me so much I had to get in on it and see how such a seemingly innocent video game made people so mad, and also talk about how people use reviews, because it's something I've thought about extensively. Not to get preachy, but please find those people you align with. It makes finding games you love so much easier.